a plastic spool or a cloth spool. After measuring, then it will become clumsy. Then people started coming out with a little more iterations, and then they try to make it user friendly, right? So with the spring loading, so at any point of time when I release it, automatically the tape goes inside, and there is a provision to put it on a particular place, the starting point, and even I have a lock facility, and everything is in handy, right? So all the functional features are taken care, and also the aesthetic features. So it should not have a sharp edge, so it should not hurt the user. So the tape should not have any sharp edge, as well the casing. So all the functional, non-functional features are taken care, and it is a continuous iterative process. But later, then in 70s, the landscape architects and the civil engineers started applying design thinking, again trying to think from customer's point of view, and that's how they started using that concept in developing landscapes or when designing cities. So later, one of the organization called IDEO, so it's called IDEO as well. The D School of Stanford University. So D School is something like a B School, but this one is meant for design, right? So these two organizations, they have put a lot of efforts and try to come out with a matured framework, and they came out with a 5-step process. So, and they also named this as a design thinking. So now design thinking, they also found that design thinking need not be limited to a product design. It can be applied to any deliverables, right? So whether it is a product or service or even anywhere. So even for concepts for non-governmental organizations, NGOs, so they can start applying design thinking. That's how it got evolved. So with that context, let me get into this subject. Yeah. So this person, Tim Brown, he is from IDEO organization. He has given a definition. To innovation that draws from the designer's toolkit to integrate the needs of the people, the possibilities of technology, and the requirements of business success. So I think this definition is a little lengthy and a little complex, but I want you to pay attention to certain keywords. One is human-centered, right? So design thinking is all about keeping people in mind, and wherever people's needs are there, so that is where design thinking is going to play a huge role. And it is also, second keyword is innovation, right? So after understanding human need and after paying empathy, then you have to come out with innovative idea. Then only your business will sustain, and that is only going to add value to your customer. Then we also talk about technology. So all of a sudden now, design thinking, why it has gained momentum in the last 5 years, same way like startup companies, right? So the idea is now technologies have become very, very powerful in the last 5 years, specifically with respect to mobility, analytics, cloud, security. So now people call all this technology under one umbrella called digital. So digital, the actual meaning of digital is different, but today when we talk about digital technology, it encompasses all the evolving and the new technologies. They have become very powerful, and that's why design thinking, you are able to apply it, and then you are able to come out with a great solution offerings. So that is all about design thinking. Why design thinking right now? So it is also a structured way to approach innovation. So earlier people thought that innovation is possible only people with certain IQ. It is not so. Anyone following certain processes or framework, then they can come out with the innovation. So maybe you may be wondering, so what is this irony? You are following a process, then how can we come out with innovation? Innovation is all about out-of-box thinking, right? But the processes, I mean, there are some techniques. So it may not be, I need not have to say processes. There are certain techniques. By applying these techniques, anyone can come out with innovative idea. And it encourages divergent thinking, and it is a creative mindset over critical mindset. So that's why design thinking is gaining popularity now. Now, I am showing a couple of logos here. So without quickly getting into this slide details, so can you all say what is common between all this organization? Uber, Facebook, Alibaba, Airbnb.
The best among the world in their particular domain.
Okay, so they are all popular or maybe Fortune top in the Fortune 500 companies. So earlier the oil and gas companies used to be in the top list, but all these companies now they are surpassing the companies like GE, Exxon Mobil, Chevron, British Petroleum. They have emerged like anything. So anything else?
Them are
Okay,
B2C, user centric.
not really. Now I request you to go through the text in the slide, and then
Okay.
you can take 10 seconds to go through the text in the slide and then give me the answer.
Yeah, they do not have their own products as
Assets.
such. Yeah, so they are like a platform for. Uh,
Exactly,
so
exactly. So you don't have to manufacture something, you don't have to own anything, but you have to provide platform, but still you can capture the market. So that is the fundamental principle. And again, they are all surviving because of the power of technology. So Uber or your local Ola call taxi or Alibaba Airbnb, they cannot survive without technology. So they are using all kind of technology. First one is the user interface comes from mobility, and then all data they are all stored in cloud, and they are heavily using analytics to try to understand the customer behavior pattern to come out with new offerings and to resolve the customer issues, right? So technology has become so powerful. So now even a simplest idea that can be converted into a great solution by leveraging the technology. That is called disruptive economy. So primarily, we are moving from ownership-based economy to the usage-based economy. So earlier, efficiency and productivity were the key elements, but today, customer experience and agility, they are vital. For example, I was part of an IT organization for last 15 years, 10 years, right? This tagline of this organization was connected world, connected solution. But after 5 years, so once the digital got momentum, they reworded their tagline like connected world and connected experience. So everyone was wondering, how does it matter? So primarily, we have to change the tagline everywhere, starting from our business card, letterhead, website, everywhere we have to change, and they have paid huge money. I don't know how much they have spent, but huge effort and money was spent. So, but primarily the drive for that particular change was to give importance for customer experience. Today, everything is based on customer experience, right? So if the customer is not happy, then the organization is not going to survive and it is going to perish. And today, startups are able to imagine customer experience and deliver quickly. So only when we talk about startups, when we talk about high of startups, we are only talking about successful startups. Of course, if at all, if there are 100 startup companies are evolving, only 20 may be surviving, 80% of them may perish. But when we talk about the successful startup, one commonality is they are continuously thinking from customers' perspective. And even people have to work for beyond 12 hours, or they have to put their best. And the startup company is also a place where people are given double salary or triple the salary like any other organization. Today, large organizations are thinking about bringing in the startup culture, but it is very difficult because the startup, the way they recruit people, the way they align with the entire organization, the alignment, everything is different. So primarily, they are all thinking from customer perspective. So whereas the traditional companies, they find it very difficult to scale up and they find it difficult. So that's it. Even traditional companies, they are trying to focus how best they can bring the design thinking culture into their organization. So again, who are all using design thinking? All the biggies like Google, IBM, Amazon, Airbnb, Netflix, Apple, all these people continuously use design thinking. And there are some organizations who are partially using it. The Indian IT organization also, they are not fully using it, but at least certain specific projects, they are applying design thinking. Okay, now I am coming into a very important concept called wicked problems. So when we talk about design thinking, it is a way of approach to tackle a solution. So it need not be limited to IT. It can be any product design or any service offering, even including NGO kind of services. Generally, the traditional projects, for example, if you take an IT project, so we follow the waterfall method, or even you have some agile process. But generally, you have certain processes and templates in place. The customer gives the requirements, or you go there and collect the customers, and then they are documented in the form of software requirements, specifications. They are all structured, which normally go through the normal what is that development process. But wicked problems are problems where you don't find a straightforward answer, right? Not only the answer, even the question or the problem statement itself is so vague and opaque. I can give the very classic example is the current corona situation, right? And the wicked problems, the intensity of the problem will vary from geography to geography, right? For example, the corona case or the scenario in US is totally different from a Gulf country or in India or any other developing countries. And how the population density, everything is different, and the entire ecosystem is different. So the entire ecosystem will be different. Clear requirements will not be there. Even the stakeholders involved, they want a solution, but they don't know what they want. And since they don't know what they want and they are unable to define it clearly, as service provider, you are also not very clear. So these kind of problems are called wicked problems. And design thinking, the classic use cases for design thinking are the wicked problems. So that is where. So one design thinking can be applied in traditional projects, but they have more applicability when you have some lack of ambience, lack of clarity kind of projects, right? So I mentioned about the 5-step process defined by the Stanford's D School's 5-step process. The 5-step processes are, the number 1 is empathize. Number 2 is define or definition. Third one is ideate or ideation. Then 4th is prototype, and the 5th one is testing, right? So the intent of this particular session is how this design thinking can be helpful for your community, like tech writing community. I am not an expert in your domain, so I think many of you have spent enough number of years in technical writing. I will just explain this process, and I will also try to bring out some examples. Probably you may have to reciprocate how this particular step, each step or combination of steps is relevant to your domain, like technical writing. So is it okay? Can I move on with that premise?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Right. Thank you so much. So now the very first process or the step is known as empathy phase. So as I said, whether you design a product or a service, we have to think from customer's perspective. So thinking from sitting in my office or sitting in from a corporate room, so it is not possible to think from customer's perspective. I have to go and interact with them. And again, when I interact with my customer, I have to follow a process. This process is known as empathy interview. So this empathy interview is done. For example, I am part of an organization called ABC. So this organization will form a team. So a panel member will be there in the empathy interview process. Some 4 or 5 people will go and meet the customer, and they will conduct empathy interview for 2 to 3 days or 5 days, depending on the complexity of the problem, right? So this panel need not be from the, for example, when I want to develop an IT solution for a telecom customer or a other energy customer. So the panel members need not be all from the IT domain. So even I can rope in a person with finance background, I can rope in a person with the HR background, so that all of them will be able to give some new perspective. Otherwise, if we take people from the same community, then we will think in a conventional manner, and we will make a lot of assumption, and we'll have a lot of prejudice, and then we'll say, yes, I know what you are saying. So even before the customer is responding my question, immediately people will jump in saying that I know what you want. So that kind of mindset should not be there. So when we go for empathy interview, we have to go with a blank slate, right? So a lot of prejudices and notions are there in our subconscious mind, but we have to go with a clean slate. And you have to go and talk to these customers or customers and ask all natural questions and encourage them to tell stories, so that we can take insights from their stories. not only their oral answers, we have to observe their body language. And most of the time, you ask a question and maintain silence so that the customer shares maximum content. And you may have to avoid binary questions. So these are all some of the do's and don'ts when you are doing the empathy interview process. I'll give an example how we did. So when we did design thinking workshop in our organization internally, so the entire participants were divided into multiple teams of 4 or 5 people, and each team was asked to come out with solutions like solutions related to cafeteria problems, solutions related to transport problems. So actually I was part of that team which was trying to identify the transport related problem, employee transport related problem. So when we did the empathy interview, so any guess who all we interviewed? So this is for employee transport. So you can use the chat window or you can unmute and tell your responses.
The ones that use the transport.
Okay, one at a time. So I'm unable to hear you. Yes, Nehal, go ahead.
The ones that use the transport mediums.
So the employees use the transport, okay. Then anyone else? Anyone else?
People who stayed far away.
Okay, again you mean
People who are
employee,
the
right?
vendors who give,
Vendor
who
in the
provide the
case
services.
like the vehicle service provider.
Yes.
Okay. So I think you are getting the point. So we interviewed all the stakeholders, starting with the employees who use the transport system. Then among the employees for each bus, there is a person called the route champion. He is the single point of contact. Suppose in the bus has to stop somewhere, then the route champion will be the deciding authority, and any communication to the admin team, he will be the single point of contact. We interviewed the route champion. Then we interviewed the drivers. Then we interviewed the cleaners. And then in admin, there is a single point of contact who is related to the transport. So like that, so then only you will be getting complete insight. Otherwise, it will be hearing from one side of the story. So like that, when you are doing the empathy interview, you have to interact with all the stakeholders. For example, when I do interview with the oil and gas customer, the oil and gas company like British Petroleum, they are selling product to their dealers. And then finally the dealer is selling to the final retail outlet. So in that case, I have to interview the customers and then the end customer also. Then only we'll be able to understand the complete picture of it. Of course, design thinking is a slightly a costly affair. But once we start using this technique, the benefits will be phenomenal. So because you interview so many stakeholders itself is a time-consuming process, and you are going to invest on time and money. So probably I'll skip these case studies for want of time. Later I can play a couple of short videos. I'll because I want to cover this 5-step process. Right. So now let's try to have a small mind game. Or even if you can play in your mind, so it is not a very complex game. So how many are here? We have around 29 people. Pick a number from 1 to 10. Any number 1 to 10. So if you are done, one of you can say done.
Yes, sir, done.
Okay, multiply that number by 9.
Yes, done.
Okay, simple. Add up the digits. For example, if the answer from the previous one is 26, add those two digits, 2 plus 6, 8, right? So
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
done. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Subtract 5 from the number from the previous answer from the third step. For example, if it is 8,
Yeah.
8 minus 5, 3. Okay. Find the letter that corresponds to the number in English alphabet. For example, if the answer is 3 in the previous step, then C will be your corresponding alphabet.
Yeah.
Done?
Yes.
Then think of a country whose name starts with the letter and note it down. For example, if it is C, then it can be China, Chile, or
Got it.
Cambodia. Okay. Now take the second letter in the country's name and think of an animal whose name starts with the letter. For example, if the previous answer is China, then second letter is H, and the answer will be one of your ideas can be animals can be hippopotamus. All done?
Yes.
Right. How many of you have thought the final answer? How many of you have thought anything other than this? Denmark and elephant.
Yes.
Right? So
I have the
this
very,
is
I have the very same combination.
Yes, even I have.
so anyone has thought anything beyond this? Anyone who has done the calculations properly? So sometimes
Yeah,
people make mistakes.
I got it as eel.
Eel. Eel, is it an animal? Okay. So probably we can debate later.
This
So
is
I
mainly
think
because
90
5 is easier to multiply and etc.
Yeah. So this is the power of subconscious mind, and I want to emphasize that when we go to customers, we have to go with a blank slate, right? And so because so many things are in our subconscious mind, and next time if I give the same exercise in my next session, or if another faculty gives the same exercise, so obviously you will not deliberately you will not think of elephant and Denmark, right? Because you are taking a conscious step. So same as the case, that is what I'm saying, that when you go to a customer, take a conscious decision to go with a blank slate. That is what I want to drive, right? So what do you see here?
Good.
Anything else?
there's evil inside good.
Will.
Okay.
Yeah.
You are able to see the evil also. Okay.
Cool.
What do you see here?
Victory.
Defeat.
Defeat.
Both.
Right. So it depends on the perspective. So
I can see the alphabets within
what is that? Defeat.
Defeat.
Victory and defeat, right? It depends on the perspective. So perspective is going to play a very, very vital role whether you are designing a product or you start using design thinking, because you want to think from customer's perspective. So though we may tell that I want to think from customer's perspective, we have to take a conscious decision. Without that conscious mindset, you cannot think of. Right. So I want to quickly narrate a specific story. This guy called Hung-Soo Kim, he was a management student in one of the US business schools. He had a classmate who was visually challenged, a visually challenged person. This visually challenged person was using a wristwatch. This wristwatch will make an audio announcement at every hour, right? It will say time is 3 o'clock, time is 4 o'clock. He was wearing that watch, but he was sitting next to Hung-Soo Kim, and he will continuously ask, what is the time? Once in a while, right? Once in an hour or so. What is the time? What is the time? Then he was puzzled. You are wearing a watch with provision to get the alarm, but why do you still ask me the time? Then that visually challenged person was saying that, okay, I have a watch, but that is going to make an what is that? Announcement or annunciation, which may distract the class, and the entire class will look at me. I don't want that to happen. And the class teacher may also get disturbed. So then Hung-Soo thought that I have to design some watch without that audio alarm. So to gift him, right? So then he tried to start with the basic stuff like whatever he has at home. Then he tried with the first iteration, second iteration, and then finally he came out with a watch like this. So the watch, which has got a small metal ball revolving inside the circle and another metal ball revolving in the periphery. So and he was waiting for the birthday of this visually challenged person. On that day, he was so excited and glad to give him a present, and he gave this present to him. This is a watch for you, specifically designed by me for you. And then that person immediately responded with a response. He came out with a response, and King Hung-Soo got baffled. So any idea what he would have got, what kind of response he would have given? Why he got baffled? So make any guess, any wild guess is okay.
That he was waiting for a gift, or he knew Hung-Soo would come up with a solution.
Surprise. Okay. Not really.
Okay.
Why to make it wearable on wrist? Because you're not going to anyway see it. I mean, that's my guess. I don't know.
Okay, not really. Okay.
Is it something related to the sound?
No. Okay.
But
So the
anything
simple
to do with
answer.
the digits? There are no digits on it, so they can feel the digits probably.
Not really. So this is almost like your Braille watch. He has to use his hands and then figure out. So he was able to use it properly. Technically, usability was not a question, right? So the very first question he asked was very simple question. He asked, "How does it look like? How does it look like?" So when this response came from a visually challenged person who cannot see it, right? So that's why he got baffled. But in reality, so as you all know, in Western world, no physically challenged person needs sympathy, right? So only in India or in the developing countries, so we tend to show sympathy. They also need sympathy, but whereas in Western world, they want to be treated on par. He was thinking that by wearing this watch, no one should think that I am a blind person, I am a visually challenged person, and I don't want any sympathy. So that's why immediate question was, how does it look like? That baffled him. So the reason why I want to bring it here is, many times we think that we are doing great thing for our customer or customer's customer. We are trying to come out with innovative solution, but finally you may get baffled. You may come out with a lot of surprises, right? Because they will be totally thinking from perspective. So I'm trying to connect the perspective part and then the surprise aspect of it. Right. So let me quickly move on to another case study. So not many of these case studies will be relevant to your domain, but the key messages will be very vital. I want to drive home that empathy part and thinking from customers' perspectives. Have you ever come across this particular case study, Doug Dyer's case study?
No.
Okay. But in the meantime, let me take a pause and check if there are any questions. Gayatri, are there any questions in the chat box or any comments?
Not questions as such, sir. They're all responses to your questions mostly.
Okay. Okay. I'm unable to track it
Yeah,
in real
yeah.
time.
I'll keep a note of it. No worries.
Okay. Right. What do we see here? What equipment?
A scan machine.
MRI scan.
MRI scan. How many of you have taken a scan using MRI machine, either yourself, or how many of you have accompanied any of your family members or friends out of 29 people? So quickly let me know.
I said.
Okay. So can some of you tell your experience? How was it when this MRI scan was happening to yourself or to any of your close friends?
It's a bit scary.
Who said scary? Prema.
Yeah.
Okay. Why scary?
You don't know what the reports would come.
Okay, you are scared about the result. Otherwise, getting into the machine is not scary, right? So here they are not, it is totally non-invasive, right? No one is going to poke you or no one is putting a needle on you. So it is totally a non-invasive operation. So you are more worried about the end result. Then what else?
Actually, it is scary to go into that machine as well.
Okay.
I mean, you feel suffocated. You psychologically think that you cannot breathe well.
So one is the kind of arrangement, right? Asking you to lie down and then trying to push it in a tunnel. So you get some different feeling like electric crematoria.
Yes,
So
some kind of fear is there.
Okay, the fear is due to one is the entire room is silent and it is so sophisticated and neat that itself makes you scary. For example, if everywhere, if some kind of shabbiness is there, then you will feel comfortable, naturally comfortable. But it's so meticulous and then so clean that itself make you scary. And then the way you are asked to lie down and then when they start pushing you inside, then it makes you scary. Then the sound, right? So all of a sudden, and he will ask you to hold your breath and then he will give you signal to breathe out. So kind of continuous instructions on the sound using the magnetic. So in fact, also you are scared because they give a lot of instructions. You have to remove all your metal objects. So how many of you recollect news happened a couple of years back in Bombay? one youngster, he took his mother to a scan center. His mother was carrying a, she used to carry a oxygen cylinder, portable oxygen cylinder. But the MRI scan attendant failed to tell him not to bring that cylinder here. Both of them, they were inside. The moment the machine was switched on, so that oxygen cylinder, the person was holding the oxygen, he was also taken inside and he got killed.
Yes.
Have you heard about that story?
Yes.
Yes. So that is these kind of instructions that make you scarier. So GE, the General Electric, their healthcare division was the pioneer in designing this MRI scan machine, and Doug Dias was the chief engineer who played a key role in developing this MRI scan machine. And as soon as he designed this machine, he installed in a couple of hospitals, and he wanted to take a quick feedback, or he wanted to feel how people are comfortable with this machine. So once he went to an hospital, and he went to a pediatric department, and all the children were crying, right? So he asked them why they are crying, because they are taken to the MRI scan. The MRI scan, nothing is going to happen. Why the children are... But people said that even adult like us, we are scared. Then obviously children will also get scared. Then Doug Dias felt very bad. My God, these children are scared. And not only that, so the children started crying, and some of the children, they were not cooperating, and they were sedated. And he was very much upset. So now he started empathizing on behalf of the end customer. The end customers are the patients and the kids, right? He started empathizing. My God, I thought I have made the wonderful design in the world. In terms of aesthetics and the look and feel, they are good. Functional features, they are good. But somehow I felt this missing point, and now children are crying, and some of the children, they are unnecessarily sedated, right? So even after MRI scan, the results may be positive, they may be good. But for no reason why they should be sedated, right? Because once they are sedated, obviously they will have side effects, right? So he was thinking from that perspective, and he was planning to come out with a new mission with which can make the customer happy. Then he was not getting the points, and then he went to the D school of Stanford University, and he took the design thinking, and then he was also collaborating with all the key people from the D school, and finally he came out with another solution to handle this pain area. Any guess what kind of solution he has brought in?
The entire room is an MRI room. The entire room, there will be no machine. The entire room will...
Oh, room itself. Okay. So like walking through X-ray tunnel or...
Yeah.
Okay. Not really.
Hi, Sundar. Actually, I read about it. So I think he put pictures inside, right? For the kids to feel as
Yes.
if...
So he just made a difference in the UI part, or the external appearances. So he tried to make this as a... Sorry, that picture is not available here in this slide. Give me a minute. I'll take another one. Give me a second. So unfortunately, that particular deck was not having. So are you still able to see my screen? I'm picking another slide.
Yes.
Okay. So he came out with an idea saying that the entire room was converted into something like a game, and the psychological counselors, they were brought in, and initially they were saying that the children, they are going for an adventurous journey, right? So like going into a pirate ship, and they were telling a story before they are taken to the scan machine, and these children were told that at any time, so there is often our ship journey, the ship voyage, during which pirates will come and attack them at any time. So to not to reveal their identity, they have to keep quiet for half an hour. something like that. They cooked up a story and children believed and they thoroughly enjoyed it. So that was the first version, and later they came out with multiple versions like having Mickey Mouse theme and aquarium theme. So that made a lot of difference for the children. So it was not meant for adults, but primarily the children. So at the end, they were able to see a lot of, they were visibly able to see the improvement and the KPIs. What are the KPIs? The number of sedation came down. The number of visit by the anesthesiologist, that came down. So they were all cost for the hospitals, right? The cost came down. So their profitability improved. And the throughput, number of patients scanned per day improved. And the patient satisfaction, I think many hospitals at the end, they give a form to fill up the satisfaction score. So the patient satisfaction score improved. But still, Doug Dias was not so happy until he heard another feedback. Any guess what it is? Another KPI or another feedback. So I'm asking you to respond because these are all vital messages, right? So I want you to remember.
That kids didn't want to come out of it, or probably they want to go on another ride or something.
Bingo, you are right, perfectly. So Gayatri, you are right. So actually when he heard one of the patients, one of the kids saying, can we come back again? So the moment he got that, he said that, yes, my job is done, right? So whatever effort he has taken for coming out with the new version. So one is, he was totally happy with the customer empathy process. He was totally happy. So second thing I want to convey here is many times we go and as technical writers, do you also take feedback, the satisfaction score or something like that? Survey, do you do that?
Yes, maybe for our help manuals or something.
No. So once you come out with your deliverables, so do you ask your customers to give a feedback? So are they satisfied with the manual or are they satisfied with the handbook? So in terms of some parameters, are you taking surveys at any point of time?
Sometimes we do take surveys on how we ask them for feedback, but mostly we do not get the good feedback is not given. Mostly we receive improvement areas through sales team or through customer support guys from the tech team on how what else can be covered in documentation, what is missing in documentation. So that's mostly what we get. We do have, but because when everything works well, we really don't get any feedback.
Okay, so I think excellence is by default they expect you. So
yes.
So they don't give positive feedback. So the nevertheless, so what I want to convey here is many organizations, service providers, they go and talk to a customer and ask them to fill up a feedback form. So generally the Likert scale starting from 1 to 5 or 1 to 10, and the people give some score like generally the customers tend to give something like 3 or 4 unless they are totally unhappy or totally happy. But the customers will immediately claim saying that for last 4 years we were getting 3.2 and this year it has gone to 3.2 to 3.6. So actually many of the stakeholders, it is not actually conveying, right, from 3.2 to 3.6. Actually, so rather than quantitative feedback, try to take qualitative feedback, informally talk to them. So in fact, when I was part of an organization, the customer was happy in giving all kind of feedback. So almost we got 4.5 or something like that. But really when the customer came down here and some of them were gripping saying that, no, we are not really happy. But for some courtesy reason, they were giving feedback. But while informally interacting with them, they were not happy. And they don't want to put it in the survey because that may affect the organization or their employees. And only when you are informally interacting, people will come out with so talk to them as much as possible and understand whether they are happy or not, right? So and again, like the empathy interview process, you just ask them and let them tell their stories, and then from the stories we can infer the insights, right? That is what I want to convey here. Then let me quickly move on to another case study. This case study was again from a batch of students from this D school. These D school students were given a problem statement. The problem statement was lot of infant mortality is there in countries like Nepal and India. So these children used to die within short period of time, most of them, and it is because of the premature birth. So I think all of us are aware, right? So either one of our relatives or in our known circle, we would have seen that premature baby. So generally, what is the cure for premature baby? So how do people take care?
They have to be kept in NICU for a long time.
Yeah, they will be kept in an incubator, and some adequate temperature will be maintained.
Yeah.
Right. So these students, they thought that they want to come out with a solution, and initially, sitting from Stanford, they thought that yes, India, Nepal, we know. So I think government hospitals may not have adequate incubators, that's why children are dying. So that was the assumption number one. And from that premise, they were starting working on some solution. And all of a sudden, they were also asked to go to the places and interact with the customers. So when they visited the hospitals, so to their surprise, most of the government hospitals had enough incubators. Not only they had incubators, they had enough incubators, and still the children were dying. So now, quick question to you. So why, in spite of incubators, the mortality rate was high? Why children were dying in spite of the incubator, the premature?
When a child is born, he or she is close to her mom, which gives her warmth. So that might.
That is by nature. That is what by default expected. In the absence of that, you have to keep it in the incubator. So the incubators are available to maintain the temperature. So the premature baby still with mother, they cannot survive. So they have to necessarily be kept in incubator. So in spite of availability of incubators, so why the children are dying?
Maybe because people, sorry.
Go ahead.
Maybe because the person who operates does not do it correctly, the incubator.
Okay. So good guess, not the actual response, reason. Yes.
Is there any power problem or something?
No, the baby does not feel like it is in a womb because there's no.
That I understand. So obviously we know that the children, if they are kept in warmer, they will survive. So not like natural babies, but they will survive. But in this case, they were not surviving. Okay, I'll reveal the answer. So when they came and interacted with people, they were surprised to see that these moms of these premature babies, they were not willing to stay in the hospital, right? So as soon as they delivered the baby, even if they are premature baby, they went back to their home. So the reason was most of them were coming from villages, and the hospital was far away, and they don't want to be away from family for so long, right? One was both father and mother were working, and these mothers, they want to get back to their work, right? So either agriculture or any small scale job, they want to go back to their work. Number one. What could be the second reason? So all this they were able to find out only when they were in the field and interacted. So otherwise, sitting from that university, they could not have identified the reasons.
Maybe also financial constraints. Financial constraints could be one of the reasons.
Expensive.
Now, government hospital, normally the costs are taken care. So financial reason, as you said, I already mentioned that they want to get back to the work. They don't want to lose their salary. That's then any other reason?
Maybe the government authorities are not taking care properly.
Not really.
The hospital authorities.
Not really.
Process of feeding the child is becoming difficult. Therefore.
Okay. So okay, I'll give an answer. I think none of you were able to guess it. So another reason, apart from going for a job, as per the Indian custom, right? So if daughter-in-law is away for long, so the first critical remarks will start coming from the in-laws. So immediately the mother-in-law will say, how long she is in hospital? In my days, actually I delivered at home. But now this daughter-in-law, she is in hospital for last 2 weeks. So I think she's enjoying the AC, and she is not willing to come back and do the work. So this is reality, right? This is reality. And people were taken aback. And so now they understood the reality, and finally they want to come out with a solution. So what solution? They want to come out with a sleeping bag, right? this something similar to a sleeping bag. This sleeping bag will have the insulation, and that will have a provision to put a hot water bag. I think all of us are familiar with a hot water bag. So you put a hot water in a rubber bag and then put that bag into this one of the pouches, and that will maintain the temperature of the kit, particular temperature for some time, 4 hours or 5 hours. After that, again you have to put another batch of water and then keep it. So that was version number 1, right? Then version number 2, then they thought this is not going to work out, because every time they have to boil water, put it there, and then the continuity was an issue. Then finally they came out with something related to a small heating coil, without shock-proof heating coil, which can be powered by battery, or even they added some solar panel or something like that. And they maintained, they put a knob to maintain the temperature. I don't remember the particular temperature. I think the children were supposed to maintain at a temperature of 38 degrees or something like that. But then with the power of, with the help of NGO, they started distributing this, and they named this as Embrace. So Embrace was the product name. This Embrace product was given to all the mothers free of cost with the help of an NGO. So good improvement was there, but still some complaints were there. So still the expected result was not there. Any guess what went wrong?
Probably all places do not have electricity.
It had some portable batteries powered by solar panels. So power charging is not the showstopper here. So the insights you are getting from this single case study will help you to understand how every word or every interaction of the customer is going to be very, very powerful, and that is going to determine the success of the project. Any guess? So I said that something to do with the temperature setting. I'll give you a clue. Now we can respond.
Either it might get overheated at times. I mean, not every time the baby can withstand the 38-degree temperature.
No, quality checks were done because obviously, since infants are handled, all those things are taken care. Product was functioning properly.
Was there too much of a temperature difference in the babies taken out of the pouch?
Not really.
There's no indicator for how much, like when the 10 to 15 minutes are over, so when the pouch is enough heated.
Okay, I'll give an answer again. It will be a surprise for you. So, actually, again, these students visited, and then they were interacting. They want to know how people are using it. So they found that these parents, instead of 38 degrees, they were maintaining at 35 or so, right? So so that 3 degrees makes a huge difference, right? That is going to determine make or break, and that is going to determine the life of the kid. And they were surprised. Why? We asked you to maintain at 38 degrees, and why are you keeping at 35 degrees? No, always we are like this. For example, if a doctor is asking us to take 8 tablets per day, we'll take only 4 tablets on the safety side. On the safer side, we'll normally take the lowest margin. So if a doctor is prescribing antibiotic 8 tablets per day, they say that 8 tablets is too much, and unilaterally they'll decide to take 6 tablets or 4 tablets. So same way, they thought instead of 38 degrees seems to be high temperature, and they decided to keep it at 35 degrees. Oh my God.
Self-medication.
So now they got another feedback. So now this feedback, what they said that they disable that temperature adjustment. So they came out with a new infant model, the bag, Embrace model, without that temperature adjustment. So, or that was concealed. So the end user was unable to fiddle with that. So the major lessons learned from here is you cannot design a product, or you cannot come out with some solution by sitting from your own place. You have to go and talk to the stakeholders and talk to them from a different context and apply different kind of mindset, perspective, etc., etc. Okay. So now we had enough, we learned a lot about empathy, right? Empathy is, as I said, one of the key words in design thinking, but it also sounds something similar to sympathy and another term called apathy. So what is the difference between these three?
Sympathy is feeling bad for someone. Empathy is putting yourself in the shoes of the other person to understand understand how they feel about something. And
apathy is like lack of interest,
Apathy
like
is
disinterest.
indifference.
Yes, exactly,
Reaction.
exactly. Yeah. Sympathy is the case, where you feel emotional and then you also, for example, if one of your relatives is affected by COVID, you feel immediately feel sorry for him and then you go and hug him. Oh my God, you should not have got it. You go and do all melodrama and then finally you also become a victim of it. Right? But whereas empathy is primarily applying logic, you feel sorry for them and you feel for them, but try to help them by applying more of logic and brain rather than being emotional. Apathy is totally indifferent attitude. So what? Oh, hey, so and so is affected by apathy. So in our organization, that particular thing, 10 people have got it. Oh, is it okay? Shall we go for coffee? So that kind of attitude. So where can you see apathy? So have you come across apathy? So what kind of organization you will say apathy?
When we use public transport.
Public?
Transport. When you are going in a bus.
Transport, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the government organization, when you go there and then wait for an obligation, immediately you will see that kind of attitude, right? So whenever I go to bank, so when I go to bank, my children laugh, Appa, why do you go to bank? Everything is available online, but still I used to go at least once in 3 months and then get my passbook updated. And the moment I give passbook, that the person in charge will put that passbook in a casual manner into the machine, and finally everything will be garbled. When I ask them, what ma'am, why this printing is not done for me? Yes sir, you go and talk to manager. So we know the problem. When I go to manager will say, yes sir, that software provider, the hardware provider, no one wants to take ownership. So classic case of apathy. Or even a lot of utility companies like your mobile service provider, no? Or even when you go to a restaurant, some hotels, they don't turn up, right? The waiters, they don't turn up, and finally you take a decision saying that henceforth I'm not. So the quality of food may be good, but the kind of service is so bad, and you take a vow not to come back because of their apathetic attitude. So now this is a picture taken from a cafeteria or from an IT company. So what do you see here? What is wrong here? Any insight? So now, if you want to apply design thinking, you have to take lessons from all this, and then totally your mindset and perspective should change. So this, from this picture, what do you get? What is wrong here?
There are people wanting to find a place to sit and eat, but there are others who may have finished their food and still not getting up.
Yeah, not only is getting up, but they are having laptop and they are having a casual conversation, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
The actual office meeting is happening when someone is waiting there with a plate to find a place to sit. So these are all happening, but unless we become conscious of it, so even we might have done the same kind of mistake because we never realize that it is a mistake on our part. So unless someone comes and tells you that, hey, someone is waiting, why don't you help? So we have to do that. Okay. Okay. I'll skip. I'll go back to. Okay. I'll stick to this template. How much time? How much more minutes we have, Gayatri?
So we might have about 35 minutes in that.
Oh, 30 minutes. Okay, cool. Right. So whom do you see here, and what is the relevance of this person with the image shown here? So how do you connect?
Dr. T.N. Session.
Yes,
okay. Session, all of us are aware. And obviously connected with the bus. We all know Dr. T.N. Seshan was the Chief Election Commissioner and who brought a lot of reforms. But he was when he was appointed as the IAS officer, his first job was in Tamil Nadu. So he was heading the Transport Corporation, something like MTC, right? The entire state. He was the chairman. So he used to have review meetings, maintenance, operations team. He used to talk about the problems. So within joining this state bus transport corporation, within few months he took heavy vehicle license, and he will go in a car, and then on the way from Chennai to Trichy or Chennai to Madurai, he will go there somewhere and then get down from his car, and he will wait for the bus to come in, not for checking. So he will stop the bus and get into the bus, ask the driver to get up, and he will start driving the bus. He himself drive the bus for 100 miles or 100 kilometers. The prime reason to get a hang of it, right? So if he has to comment on the performance of bus, the maintenance operation kind of issue, he wanted to get the feel of it, right? So that's how he was able to do the same thing while he was in election commission, because he felt that the citizens are his customers, and to serve the citizens, he wanted to bring in reform. So that kind of mindset we need to have. So now today, if you see here, even Sachin Bansal, when he was the CEO of Flipkart, he also brought in the concept saying that all his CXOs, CMOs, CTOs, CEOs, he made it a practice to travel without the delivery boy in a two-wheeler to deliver the consignment, right? So the delivery boy will not know that the CEO of that organization is sitting behind him. He'll say, introduce himself as I have come from headquarters or something like that, and he'll go along with the boy. So when the very first time when when the delivery boy and Sachin Bansal delivered a consignment to a particular party, nothing happened. It was no events, no incident. The second time when he went, it was meant for a consignment for a lady, and then when he knocked the door, that husband opened the door. He could have received it, but he said that you please wait for some time. My wife is taking bath. So literally he has to wait for 10 to 15 minutes. Until then, the lady came and then collected that prayer. So he thought that was a great revelation for him. So otherwise he would have never imagined the experience of a delivery boy. He thought that everything will be delivered smoothly. So every time when a consignment was delivered, he had kind of experience, and finally he ensured that all the CXOs, they should go along with the delivery boy one day in a year. So that is going to bring them a lot of insight. So if you want to empathize, generally for empathy we given a definition saying thinking from others' shoes, right? Unless you step out of your shoes, you cannot imagine the thing from others' shoes. So you have to go and experience that particular thing. Then slowly your mindset will improve. Okay, I'll skip all this. Then I took considerable time in talking about the very first step called empathy process. The empathy is a very vital process. Give me a minute. I will switch over to the other slide.
So I just want to quickly add what we are doing in our team right now. As you said, how Sachin Bansal went and accompanied the delivery person. So right now we are writing some installation guides for our product. So what we thought we could do is we gave an entire clean slate or a fresh environment to a different team member not belonging to our team, our product. And we asked them to use the installation guide to install the product and see how helpful or how misleading or leading or whatever you would call it the guide is. So the person is doing the testing now, and he says he's writing feedback on documentation, and it's already it has exceeded 2 or 3 pages, the number of items that we have missed so far that we could have added, the number of recommendations that we have missed. So I think that is something that most organizations probably follow some approach or the other around this, but this is one thing that I thought I can add. as we are speaking to
Super, super. In fact, I wanted to ask you because I don't want to, as I said earlier, no. So I want your responses taking cue from this session. So how do you apply it, or is there any scope for bringing in the empathy process? I want to. So thanks for bringing it. So I think otherwise you would have thought that you have come out with the all requirements from user point of view. But when that moment a neutral person is giving feedback, you will be totally surprised.
Yes, that's because when the engineers give us information, they assume the user to know some information already. And when we do not have that information, we have no idea that it needs to be documented. So it's a miss from both ends. And when someone neutral does it, we really know what are the gaps that we have not covered. It's more like unknown unknowns.
Exactly. Okay. So sometimes we are so focused on the solution, we don't fully understand the problem. So understanding the problem is very, very important. So that is the part of definition process. So the second step is definition process. After completing the empathy interview, we jot down all these points. We come back and then put all these points in a sticky note, and then we take a huge board and divide the board into 4 quadrants, what the customer feel, what the customer say, and what we have observed. So based on that, we try to jot down these points and then put the sticky notes there. So that's why when you start Googling design thinking in Google and look for images, a lot of that pasted kind of stuff will be there. So the pasted, it is one of the maximum used artifact when we conduct the design interview process. So primarily this is how we put quotes and defining words, thoughts and beliefs. And the customer actually sometimes what he is saying may not be aligning with what they want, right? He will say something, but when you observe his ambience and atmosphere, what they are all following. For example, typically in a government organization, you'll say, right, no, I want this compliance needs to be taken care, this thing. But in reality, actually, they will be bypassing all that kind of stuff. So then you will be able to identify whether they are following, whether they are walking the talk or talking the walk. So that's as you go as a team member, empathy panel, one of you will be observing the body language of the customer, the body language of the other stakeholders who are interacting with the customer or customers. Their actions, behavior, feeling, emotions, all that are captured. And finally, we will start analyzing them. After analysis, then we start synthesizing, right? So you may get several inputs, but all of them may not be useful and all of them may not be priority. Now you have to take a conscious, judicious decision to find out what are all the top priority items. Only 20% of them will be important. And by tackling the 20% of them will solve 80% of your problems. So this analysis and synthesis is an important step under the defined phase. So now this is where something like a mind map is going to play a huge role. I may not be able to spend much time about mind maps here. Mind map is a concept where your thoughts can be put it in the form of visuals, right? So you will have a core theme. For example, this example, we are talking about tennis, and then someone wants to give a lecture about tennis, either in a formal way or informal way, right? So he can prepare a mind map. He can, one branch will be about the different kind of shots, and one branch can be about scoring, and one all about the surface where they are played, and what are all the different kind of tournaments, and further. So the central theme will be there, which will be divided into different branches, and from there you can have sub branches. So why mind maps have become powerful is the mind maps are all existing for several years, not in the name of mind map, but they are all called concept map or some kind of scribbling, doodling. So even people like Aristotle and the Greek scholars have used some kind of scribblings when they came out with thought process. But by a person called Tony Buzan, who passed away a few years back, Tony Buzan was an authority, and finally he gave a shape to mind map. He has come out with all the do's and don'ts, how to develop a mind map. You have to start, generally it is all driven in a portrait mode, not in the vertical mode. So you have to take a picture and then put it in the horizontal fashion, and then you have to start drawing mind map. the central concept will be the center of the page. So where you can put an image, because images are powerful to convey meanings, and each branch need to have different kind of colors, because brain processes colored material faster and it likes colored material. And all the branches should not be straight lines. It should be curvilinear images, because this is how in nature everything is curvilinear, nothing is straight line. So when you take a leaf or a flower or a bud or a tree, everything is curvilinear. So brain can understand something closer to nature in a perfect way. So he is suggested, he has come out with a lot of do's and don'ts. And today, either you can manually do it, and a lot of software are also there. I'll quickly show one of the mind map tools. I'm using it right now. I'll quickly explain how it can be leveraged by your community. Give me a second. So I'm actually a Toastmaster for last 10 years. So now Toastmaster has come out with something called Pathways, a new curriculum. And a lot of new club members, they are struggling to understand this Pathways. So I gave an education session a couple of days back, and instead of slide deck, I used a mind map. So here in a mind map, I have already pre-drawn. I am going to explain here. So each step, I can, so like how I showed that hand-drawn mind map, I can put all this here in this system. So initially when I started, I took 1 to 2 minutes to talk about what is Pathways, and then the next 5 minutes I talked about all the major topics. Like today I'm going to talk about how Pathways got evolved, how many languages they are available, how many levels are there, how to prepare in Pathways. So the idea is the user, most of the time the change management is very difficult. For example, an organization wants to implement a new initiative like ISO 9000 or something like that. A lot of training sessions happen, and people religiously take all the training session, but after some time they are overwhelmed and they don't know what is the big picture and what they are supposed to do. So even the people who take the training sessions, they don't know how to clearly articulate, and normally they use a slide deck or a Word document where the contents are there in linear format. So linear learning is actually, our brain is not designed to process linear learning, but that's how we are all doing from our school days, kindergarten to our PhD program. That's how we are learning. But in nature, when you go to a place, right, for example, you get down in Singapore, so no one is, so assume there are two scenarios. One is someone is giving you a pamphlet, which is all talking about what is there in Singapore, what all you can see the moment you get down. So some 4 or 5 page leaflet. So will it be easy to do that, or you yourself get down and then see all the hoardings, and then you make your own judgment, right? So seeing is believing, and by seeing your mind processes faster. Within 2 minutes, you will be able to capture what are all there. So rather than going through the literature, but definitely literature and documents, they are essential. But probably we can think of coming out with new approaches. So that's why instead of running through slide after slide or a document, a mind map will be the easiest way to understand a concept and also help others to understand the concept, right? Because it gives you 30,000 feet overview. And for example, with this mind map, if given a time, I can talk on all these subtopics for 1 hour or 2 hours, right? So I have
Sir, while we are here on this page, we have a question on the tools that someone can use to capture the mind map information.
Yeah, tools, there are several tools available in the public domain. Most of them, they are all, they give you free access, but with a little bit of limitation. So for example, you cannot use it for more than 5 times, or you cannot add 100th element. So now I have subscribed to this particular tool, Wondershare Mind Master. Then there is a tool called Iowa, AYOA.com. Then Simple Mind is there. Just if you Google it, there are so many things you can explore. And like PowerPoint, you can easily learn, you can navigate and then learn. And just I want to show. See here. So now all the sub branches are there. Now with single slide, I can take a session for 2 hours. So each branch I can talk for 1 minute or 2 minutes. But if the same session I get only 15 minutes, I don't have to go in depth. So that is the power of mind map. And mind map is helpful if you are learning a subject for the new time. For example, when you want to write a technical document, when you are interacting with your customer and taking inputs instead of jotting down. So you can jot down, of course, so you can jot down all the points in a pad, but finally you can come out with a mind map, and again you can go back and explain, is my understanding all right? I have tried to reproduce the kind of discussions that has transpired between you and me. Now I try to put it in mind map. Now we explain whether this high level overview is all right. He will say, no, this branch is not here. When I mentioned, I think you are mistaken. So it has to be here or something like that. So mind map will help you to get absolute clarity of what you want to learn or what you want to disseminate. Is it clear? Any questions on mind maps?
I have a lot of questions on mind map specifically, but maybe we should have it for another session.
Sure.
Yeah, but it's actually a very interesting thought process to have translate all the information that we need for a document into a mind map.
Yes. So in fact, sometime back when I was preparing for my research thesis, I have to collect information, I have to process information and then put it in the final thesis. And the table of content itself was going for 3 to 4 pages. So every time I change and update the table of content, I was not having enough visibility, right? So what went into which chapter, which sub-chapter. So it was very difficult to visualize. Then I used the mind map to organize my thought process and then finally started documenting it. So that way it was helpful.
So I would like to add something here. So, I used mind maps for SME interviews because they'll go helter skelter when you want to understand. So for us, SME interviews are very important. So mind maps really help there because there you can just jot down. It's like almost like shorthand which you can understand, not all can understand. Maybe later on you can go to the desk and change it. But that really helped when I was sitting with them with the laptop. So that's one use case.
Do you use you hand draw the mind map or you use a software?
No, I use a tool, Free Mind. There's something called Free Mind tool.
So for others, if you are not comfortable in using it, so first time just jot down the points in a pad and then bring back to your desk and then try to develop a mind map, either handwritten mind map, hand drawn mind map, or using a tool. And then you can go back to your customer and ask them to vet it, ask them to clarify whether my understanding is or not, because he will be able to quickly give. Otherwise, again, you go with a 10-page document and ask them to revise, they will feel bored and they will feel that their time is wasted. Many times getting their productive time, that is important challenge, right? When you are interacting with stakeholders. When you send a single diagram, that will help them to quickly respond and then come out with feedback on it. Okay, I'll probably skip all this because primarily these are all meant for product development. Okay, I'll quickly ask you. So now the third step is innovation or ideation. So once your problem statements are captured and defined, then you have to come out with the ideation where you will be using multiple techniques like brainstorming, and there are multiple techniques like 6 thinking hats. But from your perspective, so any of you are using any innovative ideas when you develop your documents or you want to share your experience? What are the kind of innovations you are bringing in apart from tools?
Innovation in terms of, sorry, yeah, please can go ahead.
Yeah, so there is one example which I would like to tell. So usually what happens is installation guide goes for pages with lots of diagrams saying that this step, go to the next step and so on, this will display and so on. But for a seasoned person who has already installed either the software or the hardware, there is no need for us to go through this elaborate process by just giving them what is it in a sort of a where they can take it to the field. So the field, when they go to the field, they should not be carrying bulky things onto in their either the hand or even on the machine. So what at that point we did was we tried to take that 140 pages and try to make it as a 3-columnar representation of an installation guide with only the content on the steps. So he only needs it for reference when he's going to miss some step. So that really helped the field personnel when they were installing in the field.
Right. So this is where I think the importance of actually I wanted to cover that understanding your audience, right? So you may develop but depending on the audience profile, their geolocation and their persona, so your deliverable should vary. So I think you are already given that answer for. So this is what I mentioned. Under innovation, we can use multiple techniques. Okay, I'll skip all this. And the power of prototype. So I'm not sure how far you will be able to connect with your domain. So generally, when we talk about innovation, so innovative ideas alone will not be sufficient. You have to show something concrete, right? You have to come out with a storyboard, or you have to come out with a HTML screen and share it with the customer. So as we say, a picture is 1,000 words. A prototype. So you cannot just show in PPT or Word document. So you have to put your hands together and come out. This prototype can be a paper-based prototype or a thermocol or any kind of artifact. Or if it is IT solution, you can create some dummy screens and walk through them. So customer will get a clarity of what he is going to receive. Otherwise, traditional projects, most of the traditional projects at the end of 6 months, totally the customer is puzzled. You will say that, no, I have never mentioned this. I actually meant something different. And everyone is taken for surprise, and a lot of effort is going back on revisiting your starting from scratch. So do we have another 10 minutes, Gayatri?
Yes, sir, definitely. We can go up until 12:35 or 12.
Yeah. So, okay. So once you start developing, you will have a lot of failures. So we have to accept failure as part of the process. So obviously, when you take a new attempt, for example, someone mentioned, Kiran Mai mentioned that she came out with innovative ideas. Definitely, first attempt, many people would have commented, no, this will not work out. So I think a lot of showstoppers are there, right? So I am in the organization for last 5 years. No one tried this. I don't think this will work out. A lot of discouraging words will be there. Or either actually your innovation may fail, but you have to accept this as part of the process. In fact, I was going through one of the documents on the net. So it was mentioned about design thinking for technical writing. I can share it later. So here you are saying that the writing community, so they should not feel bad that when they go back in iterations, right? So it is part and parcel of your game. You have to go back and then revise, and every time you will learn something, and then you have to do that. And the only thing is, we should not, we say that we learn from mistakes, but always we can also learn from others' mistakes. You cannot afford to do the same mistake again and again and saying that I am learning from mistake, so I can afford to do mistake. No. So we can do only one type of mistake and then learn from it. Next time you have to do a different kind of mistake. So if you are doing the same mistake again and expect a different kind of result, that is called theory of insanity. So you have to do a different kind of mistake or learn from others' mistakes. I think I'll skip all this. I don't know why this picture is not coming. I'll go back to the other slide. Some of the pictures. Then once you have this prototype, so whether it is an IT product or a non-IT product, once you have the prototype, you have to take it to your customer and ask for feedback. So that feedback is very, very important. And this is called the testing phase. Testing phase, you get continuous feedback, and based on that, you will come out with iterations. Okay. So I was talking about idea killers, like boss will not like it, too difficult to control. We always work like this. Do not make mistake. No budget for these innovation ideas. We are too small for that. So, but a person with the right mindset will continue to come out with innovative ideas. Yes. So here in this design thinking process, first we start the empathy phase. At that point of time, we'll collect as much requirements as possible, and in defined phase, we will start converging. So first step is a divergent process. The next step is convergent process, where we will try to narrow it down by doing analysis and synthesis. And then the next step, ideation, again, you will come out with n number of ideas. N number of ideas. You can use brainstorming technique and come out with multiple ideas. And then when you are developing prototype, you will not implement all the ideas. Then you will shortlist the ideas and come out with only very few prototypes, convergent again. So this is the kind of life cycle. Okay, so this is a very important slide. That is, design thinking is a non-linear process. That is, I mentioned about 5 steps: empathy, definition, ideation, prototype, and test. So after empathy, we collect the requirements and define the problem statement. After definition, then we come out with innovative ideas. After innovative ideas, we put our efforts and use our money and time, and then build a prototype. Then after building prototype, take it to the customer and then take feedback. So though we talk about 5 steps one after the other, it is actually a non-linear process. Meaning at any point of time, you can jump from step 3 to step 1, step 4 to step 3, right? So ultimate idea is customer should feel happy, and of course at an affordable cost. We cannot, in the name of delighting the customer, we cannot put endless efforts, and then we cannot waste investors' money, right? So everyone's delight is important, like associate delight, investors' delight also need to be taken care. Your associates' delight also need to be taken care. So in an optimal manner, you have to go back into an iterative process to come out with innovative solutions. Once you come out with innovative solution and the customer experience is delighted, then you will be trying to be in the you will be in the forefront. So you will not perish from your business. On the last, I think I'll conclude with the last slide. Again, go back. I have multiple questions and I'm slightly confused with the different questions. So though we mentioned about empathy a lot, right? We think, we need to show empathy towards our customers, like how we say charity begins at home. That is a popular saying. Empathy also begins at home. So unless we are empathizing with our own parents, our own children, siblings, team members, subordinates, boss, reporting manager, you cannot show empathy towards your customer. So all of a sudden, this is actually a virtue, right? So you cannot show empathy towards your customer when you are not showing empathy with your own close kith and kin. So you have to have that mindset. So with that mindset, and if you start applying the 5-step process, you will be able to come out with innovative solutions. You will start delighting your customers and end customers. So with that, I have skipped several slides due to paucity of time. So probably if we have next 5 minutes, I can take questions, and then I can bring back those slides wherever they are relevant. So now, after understanding this 5-step process, either you can ask me a question or you can share your thoughts. So on each aspect, like definition, empathy, innovation, and a prototype and a testing. I'll take a pause now. Any questions in the chat window, Gayatri?
Not really, sir. I think one of the questions I think you answered. There was a question from Kiran that asked, should we get back to the empathy step? But you said these steps can be skipped and revisited at whichever order we want. So I think you answered the question.
Yeah, but my question also was, sir, empathy, if we go back to the customers, if, for example, if I'm going to go and ask them again that I want to understand, will they be welcoming us for answering our questions? We might have queries because we would have gone to the desk, gone to the bench, did a prototype or something like that, but we felt that this might not work in this idea. So we want to go back to the customers. Will they welcome us in the same way they did the initial cases?
Yes. So there is no perfect answer for this. This is all like sales, right? Sales. Yeah. We have all the processes are in place, but the tactics. What's happening? Screen. Okay. Someone is scribbling. Okay, let me stop sharing.
I think somebody's annotating. Can somebody who is doing it, can they stop doing it, please?
So like a sales, right? So some of the successful sales people, they use a lot of tactics, right? Understanding the mind of the customer or the decision makers, and then they use a lot of judicious decisions, right? So I think that same process you have to use it. So we cannot go back to the customer in the name of deleting them. So my only mission is to they come out with the perfect product, but at the same time you should also see the how it will be welcome, right? So probably I just sometime back I mentioned. So instead of going with your heavy document again, we can put it in the form of a mind map and make it user friendly, so that their response will be, oh, they'll say, oh my God, now you have brought out in the form of a mind map. So this is cool, man. So probably I'll give you. So even you would like to interact with you one more time. So rather than saying that no, I don't have time. So instead of giving such kind of response, they may like it. So it is all kind of an art, right? Like tackling your stakeholders.
Yep. Thank you, sir.
So if anybody likes to share any best practices they have tried around this in your organization, if you can quickly speak about that, then we could try to connect one or two things from the learnings from here to there.
Yeah.
So
again, I'm going to give an example. It will not be directly relevant to your thing, but I'm saying that how innovation can be brought in any aspect. It need not be product. It need not be service. Actually, I was part of the oil and gas team. So one of my salesmen in Canada, so he was trying to build a rapport with a Canadian oil and gas company, and we had to give a proposal, right? So, but customer was okay with the solution, but he was not in a position to take a decision because at the time the oil price was fluctuating, right? So generally oil companies feel happy when the crude oil price is maximum, right? So they make huge revenue and they can afford to spend on projects. When the crude oil price comes down, then they make less profit, and most of the IT projects or any training related activities that they will be hacked. So they were not sure of the stability of the profitability of the organization. So at that time, our salesperson, one of our salesperson, he tried to link our proposal pricing with the crude oil price. And he was saying that if the crude oil price is $60 to $70, this will be our pricing. So if it is within $50 to $60, this will be our pricing. So he made it flexible. And he was also able to convince our finance team, and the finance team gave clearance for that because it is a win-win for all, right? So now, otherwise the customer will be taking a huge risk. So I always narrate this case study that innovation has got no barrier, right? So at any point of time, design thinking, innovation, empathy, all can be brought in. So it all requires a kind of mindset. So it need not be relevant to product or process. Anywhere you can bring in. I also have a couple of case studies where many times people think that innovation is also costly affair, that you have to put a lot of efforts. Probably you can Google and then find out. There is a case study in YouTube. We can find out RM Help Desk. RM AARAMBH RM Help Desk. So here is a NGO organization. They are trying to help school children with desk, where the school children, they are not having desk, and they have backache, and they don't have a proper bag. So they try to buy cartons, used cartons from the old waste paper shop, and then they try to use a stencil to cut in a particular shape and convert that stenciled carton into a desk come school bag. And they, using an NGO, they started distributing in Maharashtra or Karnataka somewhere. And the entire particular product costed only 10 rupees. So innovation also need not be costlier. So we have a lot of myths around innovation. Innovation, you have to put a lot of efforts. Innovation is costlier. Management has give buy-in. So even individuals can bring in innovation if they are persistent and if they have the right mindset. Anything else?
So I just wanted to add one thing over here. When you said innovation is not expensive, we have a huge doc set in our for our product. So, but although the names are quite indicative, the titles, the customers found it hard to decide which document they have to read to perform which action. Because sometimes the tasks are overlapping, so they are not able to decide, and the roles are also very different. So we came up with a one-pager saying, if your role is this one, if you want to do this one, you can directly jump to this guide. You can skip the other guides. So and we called it the quick start, I mean, the before you begin sort of guides. And then the first thing the reader has to do is refer that guide, see where his role fits in, what his requirement is from that product on that particular day, and he can directly skip to that guide to see what to procure the information he exactly needs. So that saved a lot of time in terms of skimming through each document to see which document has the information he required.
Fantastic. So now one question, as technical writers, all of you write only the end documents like user manual, or even are you also involved in writing test cases kind of stuff?
See, my team is involved in also architecture documents. So we do, say, for example, trade-off analysis documents, or even the architecture main documents. So it depends on how we want to be involved. It's not only formatting jobs, we do write. So we have to understand the system in the sense that we will be closely associated with the business analyst to understand how to do it. So that's the reason why we come up with a lot of prototypes for the documentation, especially when the legacy content was being transferred and transitioned into a responsive design format, and how it works and what is the type of document we need. So yeah, we work with architecture documents. We also work with a few usability and user designers to understand the UI also. There are different modalities in which we can work, and this particular organization, since it's in healthcare, it requires a lot more empathy there. So probably they're consciously, unconsciously, they're doing design thinking, maybe.
Yes, yes. Many times you would be doing it, but once you start understanding this, then we can start consciously thinking. So the reason I asked this question is I came across an article, probably I'll share the link later. So specific organization, they started writing test cases using mind maps. So instead of a regular document, so that way they were able to bring a clear picture to their audience, and they were also able to save number of pages. So that made it user friendly. Test cases are using mind map. So mind maps, there are, for example, I'll show this mind map, multiple ways you can write. Yeah, see here. Are you able to see? No, not yet. Okay, let me share this. Multiple scenarios, you can use mind maps. A lot of use cases are given. So this organization, they used mind map for writing their test cases. So you can try this particular tool. I found it very useful. Of course, there are several tools. Wondershare Mind Master. So free version you can download, and to some extent you can use it.
Okay. Any last thoughts, last questions? We may have a couple of minutes, and then we'll move to the next session. Any last question, if anybody wants?
So I guess I was able to make something relevant to your domain. I was not in a position to do that, but now it's up to you to leverage the understanding, right?
So, sir, do you take any workshops on design thinking for, not for particularly for us, but generally, do you do some, say, maybe long, half a day or full day session? For,
yes. So okay. I used to take normally 1 day workshop. But now due to COVID times, people are not in a position to take day-long time to take workshops. I take 3 hours workshop on a regular basis, at least monthly. Every week I used to take one topic or the other, depending on the kind of demands. One is design thinking. Then I used to take mind map mastery. Then Canva is a tool I use nowadays a lot. I don't know whether it's relevant for you. So Canva, I use it to create PowerPoints as well as other collaterals. So in fact, I stopped using PowerPoint for last 15 months totally, but I would have created more than 100 decks using Canva. So I take a session on Canva. Then I take power of creativity. So there is a subtle difference between innovation and creativity. Innovation is all about bringing commercial sense kind of stuff, but unless you have the creativity in you, so it's very difficult. And creativity can be brought in a smaller aspects. So it need not be an innovative solution or innovative product. So even in your day-to-day operation, you can bring in creativity. So power of creativity is another topic. Then finally, public speaking. So these 5 topics I take 3-hour sessions regularly.
Okay, thank you, sir. So we might get back to you about one of the sessions later on after this COVID lifts. So that's the reason why we wanted to ask you. I wanted to ask you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.
wonderful audience, interacting now and then and sharing your feedback. I thoroughly enjoyed being the presenter here. Thank you, Gayatri, for this opportunity.
Thank you very much, sir. You did throw a lot of light into areas we haven't really thought much about. So I really thank you for having this session, for handling this session for us. And thank you everyone for joining us today. And we have the next session now by Ohmkumar. It's actually a very small session. It's a mini byte session, as we would like to call it. It's just a.
Shall I continue to stay?
Of course, we would like. Of course, we would like for you to very much stay and share your thoughts, if any, on that also. So, Ohmkumar, are you here with us?
Hi, Gayatri.
Hi, Ohmkumar. So probably you could share your desktop if you would like to.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
Ohmkumar is a lead technical writer with 13 years of experience in various domains, such as energy, semiconductor, healthcare, insurance, etc. At present, he works for GE Digital through Intercom Global Services. He's a passionate traveler who's just waiting for unlockdown to be really an unlockdown for him to pursue his interests. So over to you, Ohmkumar. Looking forward to learning more on spreadsheet.
Thank you. Thanks for the intro. And thank you, Sundararaman sir, for that wonderful session. It was very informative. Hello, everyone. My name is Ohmkumar, and I am into this technical writing for quite some time. And I'm part of this forum for a while, and I have been learning some good stuff. And I thought it's time for me to share something what I have learned. So let's just move to the session. So first, let me quickly show the UI so that you can get a grasp about how it looks like. So this is how the Smartsheet looks like. So now I will just quickly run through the PPT of the key facts. So Smartsheet is a SaaS-based spreadsheet for easy collaboration and tracking. So SaaS is nothing but software as a service. It's a cloud-based tool. So many of us might think, why when I have a Excel sheet, why do I need a Smartsheet? But Smartsheet is much more than an Excel sheet because it is offered through online where you can collaborate easily, and there are much features which we cannot do using an Excel sheet. So Smartsheet UI is very simple, and it's based on 4 building blocks like sheets, forms, reports, and dashboards. You can automate certain manual tasks. If you don't want to send a particular sheet, you can send only a specific row or a column. And in case if we need to get some data from a stakeholder or a team member and add it to the Smartsheet, you can just use it through a form, send it. Once they submit it, the data will automatically get appended to the Smartsheet. And you can customize the filters. You have different views. You can apply conditional formatting, which is very easy actually. And you can lock the rows and columns, which if you don't want any user to change it or edit it. And you can also apply different privileges to the users like admin or an editor who can share the sheet, editor who cannot share the sheet, and a viewer. You can create some customized dashboards and customized reports as well. So we will move to the UI. I will show you some key features. So as I told you, this is how the UI looks like. I have created a sample sheet here, technical writing project kind of thing. So when we try to give a column name and click it, it will give you these options here, like text or a number or a contact list or a date or a drop-down list or a checkbox or a symbol. If you select each thing, it will appropriately show you. For example, if you select a contact list, it will allow you to give an email address. If you select a checkbox, it will allow you to provide a checkbox there. If you select symbol, it will allow you to give different options like flag or priority or decision or status or a direction or a measure according to the purpose of that particular column. For example, for severity column, I have given here a symbol where if I select that particular drop-down list, it will show you whether it's no pain or a mild or a severe or an extreme kind of thing, just for an example. So if you want to lock a particular row, you can just do it. It will show you that lock symbol here. I'm just unlocking it. Similarly, you can also lock a column. You can just lock it. It will show the lock symbol here. I'm just unlocking it again. And if you want to attach any file to this row, you can do it. So this is how the UI will look like. I have already attached a sample file here. And you can also provide comments where as and when it is being updated, you can provide the comments, and over a period of time, it will become a conversation history. If you want to send a particular file or anything which is related to this particular row for review, you can use this proofing option where you can drag and drop the file here, and you can request for a review by providing the email address here. The person who receives it will have an email like this. And we have different views over here. Like the default view is called grid view. And you can also change it to a Gantt view where the Gantt view is on the far right side. So but I will show you the card view. So this is how the card view is. It is sorted based on the status. You can also change it based on the severity changes. And again, you can change it based on the quality rating. So we also have something called calendar view where the project can be viewed on a timeline basis. So I'm changing it back to the grid view. That is the default view. So we also have something like a customized filter here. The filter UI looks like this. Once you can give a filter name and provide the conditions. It's very simple. So I have given some example filter, applied some example filters here to see a completed documents. If I click that, it will show only the completed document. If I apply a filter named in progress docs, it will show only the in progress documents. So I'm just removing the filters here. And we also have a good option called conditional formatting. It's a very simple thing. This is the conditional thing which we can apply. If a particular column is like this, then apply this to this. So it will change. For example, here, for any row that has red, it has to change the entire row to the red. That is the condition I have applied. So see, for example, if I change it to green, it will just go off. If this becomes red, the entire thing will get red. So these are some features here. And also you can automate certain manual tasks we normally do, like if we need to alert someone, or if you want to set a reminder or request an update or set up an approval workflow or something else. So you can just create a workflow. You can give a workflow name here and set up the conditions. This is how the UI looks like. So it will automatically trigger the reminder or an update or an email to them. And we also have another option called forms, where if we need to collect a data from a stakeholder, we can use these forms, add some fields or delete a field. I mean, it's up to you. You can create that form, customized form, and send it to them. Once they submit it there, the data will automatically get appended to the Excel sheet here. And we also can create some customized dashboards. So this is how the dashboard, an example dashboard, which I have created here. So once the status or any other thing that changes here, it will automatically get updated here as well. So this is an example one. And this is all I had just to show for 10 minutes. So this is something which I have learned in the last 4 or 5 months. So it was very useful. So thank you. Thanks for attending this session. Over to you guys.
Thank you, Ohmkumar. Any questions anyone has on Smartsheets?
Is it a free software or you have to subscribe to it?
No, sir. No, sir. It's a licensed one.
Okay. So I think someone raised their hand. Janu, do you have any question?
Sorry, Gayatri, that was a mistake.
All right. Okay. Okay. So what do you do, Ohmkumar? You upload your document into a central repository and you trigger a request through this one, or how do you do it?
We can. If you are a licensed user, it allows you to upload up to 250 MB.
Okay.
Normally, we use it for tracking the documentation process. We have huge lot of documents. I'm not showing it here because I'm using a trial version here.
Okay.
So all the projects, different projects, we just track it through this Smartsheet.
Okay. Okay. It's more like a status tracking.
So, Om, do you also use this as a task allocation sheet for all your writers? So
Yes,
it'd be
yes,
easy
yes.
for you to have it.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly, Kiran. You're right.
What is the license cost?
I think for single user it's $14, and for group user it's something more than that. Can you check that?
Yeah, it's per month, is it?
Yeah, per month.
Okay. And Romani asks, is it more suitable for healthcare industry? I think it probably would be. It depends on how
It's
you
more
use
like
it.
monitoring and tracking kind of thing. So that it's not like specific to any particular industry. So as you have seen, mentioned about any particular domain or anything over here. If you want to, like any project maintenance management or anything, you can use this particular. It's easy to use the UI. There are many competitors for the software, but 75% of the Fortune 500 companies use this software.
That's interesting information. Okay, so you're using a trial version, is it? It says 24 days left.
Yeah,
so,
correct. It's a trial version.
Okay, so trial version has all the capabilities of the.
No. It's restricted capabilities only.
Okay. So probably we can try our hand with the trial version then.
Yeah.
Think any questions, anyone? If not, we could call it a day.
So with regard to the file size, so is it suitable only for small documents? So I mean, like if we have a licensed version, would it support more bigger documents? Say like if I'm sending some 500 pages per document, will this be suitable there?
If you are a licensed user, it allows you to attach up to 250 MB.
Oh, okay.
For a single row or
Yes,
for the
yes.
entire
The entirely total capacity is at one shot. It's 250 MB.
Okay.
Oh.
So thank you, Ohmkumar, for this very insightful session.
Yeah.
It's like, although it was small, it was really crisp and really very informative. So thank you very much for that.
Yes, so this is very new. This is very new. Thank you so much.
Yes, and thank you very much for the audience for making it interactive and lively and very cheerful. At the end of the day, we take back some good thoughts and good learnings. So thank you for being there with us. And I thank TechnoRights for providing us the infrastructure today to host the Zoom session. So I'm not sure if Makaran sir is still with us. So thank you, Makaran sir, for that. And I think we have close to time now, 1 o'clock. So have a good lunch, everyone. See you sometime in the next session. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye.